ভাই বন্ধুকে মারি ফেলাইয়ে এখানে বসে মারি ফেলাইয়ে মা বাপ মারি ফেলাইয়ে তো হাড়াহাড়ি বল না ফুনি না এই দোকান মাঝে হাড়ি ফেলাইয়ে আর যান বাসন ফরজ বলে হই আর ফারাই আগি
এখানে বাংলাদেশের মধ্যে হাম করলে টাকা না দে ইয়ার যে টাকা 13,000 টাকা হাম করে টাকা না দে আরে বাচ্চা টাকা বুঝে বাচ্চা তোর বড় মেয়ে আর কেলা বাংলা দেশের মধ্যে কেলা হাফ করতেছ তোমার বাংলাতে আর দেশের মধ্যে অত্যাচার করতেছে তোর করতে ডাহারি করতেছে হ্যাঁ টিয়াকুদের বাচ্চা
একদিন হাজ করে 3 দিন বই তারপরে কোনো কাজ নাই আর অনেক দূরে দ্বারা যাই না পারি বেগম পুলিশ আছে দৌড়া মারা দৌড়িয়ে আমার 1 টাকা হামাই না পারি 10 টাকা গুনাই লয়
My journey began in 2009 when I found myself in the middle of the Kutupalong refugee camp in Cox's Bazar. I went there without any real plan, but it was a visit that changed my life. Since then, I have been following this story in different parts of the world.
আমাদের আনরেজিস্টার ক্যাম্প এটা হলো আমাদের আনরেজিস্টার ক্যাম্প এরপর আমাদের রেজিস্টার ক্যাম্প এগুলো আসছে 2004 থেকে 5 থেকে এবং 6 থেকে এখানে আস্তে আস্তে জমে আসি বড় টাল হয়ে গেছে বড় একটা মানে 40,000 মতো লোকজন এখানে বসবাস করতেছি এখানে আমাদের জীবনটা হলে খুবই কষ্ট মানে যে মানুষের পৃথিবীর মাঝে যে জঙ্গলে পাখি আছে পাখির মতো ওই জন্য আমাদের কোনো নিরাপদ নাই
Abul Kalam's 8-month pregnant wife died in the hospital. She wasn't given the proper medical care that she was entitled to. She was a Rohingya. Life in the unofficial camp of Kutupalong is horrible. When it rains, the alleys become rivers. When the sun is up, the heat is unbearable. There is no clean water for the unregistered Rohingyas. No doctor, no medicine, no school, and no hope for the future. Her stepfather tried to rape her 3 times. Her mother saved her every time. But finally, the mother couldn't save herself from the beast. She was stabbed 7 times. The last one in her genital, cutting her almost into 2 pieces. After waiting for the death to come and save her from all the sufferings, she died in the hospital after 2 months. They raped her in the middle of the UN protected camp in the middle of the day. No one was ever arrested. In 2004, Rohingyas organized themselves in protest demanding for a better life. Police opened fire on the protesting Rohingyas in the Kutupalong refugee camp. Then Hasina Begum was just 11 years old and she was shot in the back. In 2007, a Bangladeshi who used to live in a nearby village raped her. She was then sold to another Bangladeshi for $10. In his house, she was raped by 3 Bangladeshi men. After that, she came back to the camp, but her life was changed forever. Her family rejected her, and she is now a sex worker.
মিলিটারি আয় বাদে মাছের ঘরে ঘরে গলি গই গলি দেন ডন মাছ দেন লন নফা গুড়া তো তার ফোনে কল লপাই বাদে হিনো নিয়ালে বাদে ইঙ্গির ফিস আদ বাঁধি হলে আদ মারে ফিস তো লাথি মারি আনে নিয়ালে বাদে মাছ যাবে বাদে বেশি গিয়া করি বাদে ইঙ্গির লাথি মারি বাদে ইঙ্গির ফিস লাথি মারে বাদে মারি বাদে হিনো নরম করে ফেলাই গুড়া বাহিনী হিনো যায় নিদেন আর হিনো ইদে ফেলাই বাদে অগরত গলি ফত্তি গরত একখান গলি বাদে যেগর মা গুড়া মারি বেড়াইন হাল মাছ শুনা দিকে গিয়া দিকে গরমার মরিচ চল বিয়াকুন কি করে বস্তা করি গাড়ি গিয়ে ডুঁড়া দি
Thousands of Rohingyas started to flee to Bangladesh following the violence in Burma in May 2012. These started as a sectarian violence between the Rakhines and the Rohingyas in the late May 2012. However, it was in the context of decades of state-sponsored persecution against the Rohingyas. As the violence continued, the role played by the state yet again became very evident. Thousands suffered, hundreds were killed, and so many lost their homes and livelihoods. They are all sitting silently at the end of the jetty, 139 of them. The silence broke when they were told that they would be sent back to Burma. They knew what was waiting for them on the other side of the river: violence, persecution, and possible death. The sound of misery rose above the wind and the waves. The last boat disappeared as the sun was setting, and everyone on that jetty that day knew they would try to come back. They had no other option. Burma was burning, and Bangladesh was their last hope. The news came the next morning. On the night of the pushback, they again tried to get into Bangladesh. In the deep dark night, only 33 of the 139 made it. Their rest disappeared in the wide open sea. Nobody knows what happened to them. Almost every night and almost every day, Rohingyas come to Bangladesh by crossing the border. The Burmese state wants them to leave, so they create little windows during certain times of the day for the Rohingyas to escape. They often also demand bribes for doing so. For the Bangladeshi authorities, it is more about money. They are heavily bribed by the Bangladeshi smugglers to turn a blind eye to the border crossing. Many Rohingyas flee Burma and Bangladesh to Malaysia in the hope of a better life. They take a dangerous journey of many weeks to reach Malaysia. They walk in the jungle, swim in the sea, float endlessly on tiny boats before they finally manage to get into Malaysia. And the entire process is controlled by smugglers and traffickers. The Rohingyas live in Malaysia as illegal immigrants. They fear arrest and deportation every day. Life is a little better compared to Bangladesh, but it is still a life full of uncertainty, insecurity, and pain. Like a drop in the ocean, less than 200 Rohingyas were resettled in Bradford in the UK. This is clearly not adequate, nor is it a solution in itself. The international community has a responsibility to hold Burma accountable for ongoing human rights violations against the Rohingyas. Until this is done, Rohingyas will continue to flee, and token numbers of resettlements will be meaningless. However, these Rohingyas are the luckiest ones among the very few Rohingyas who have been resettled into a stable environment. They have hope and happiness. They have dreams and aspirations. Above all, they have a legal identity and the right to live and work in UK. However, integration into a country, culture and climate so alien is difficult. Crucially, they cannot go back to their own country, to the friends, families, lands, and the lives they were forced to leave behind forever. Shamlapur is in the south of Cox's Bazar. It is an area where Rohingyas have been taking shelter for decades. Years ago, the area was completely cut off from the mainland, as there was no road or any communication. As a result, thousands of Rohingyas live there. Their main profession is fishing in the deep sea. A few months ago, we found this group in a shelter home in Cox's Bazar. They were all waiting to be smuggled to Malaysia. Their desperations drove them to entrust their lives and futures to the smugglers, who promised to take them to there. Many would not make it all the way. Many would just disappear at sea. Many would be forced into bonded labor.
তো মাইছে হদে বিদেশত যাগই এনলে যাইত পেলে যাগই যাইয়ারে তাইয়ারে মরিলে বহুত ভালো হবো তোর ফোন শোন দেড় বেক্কা খুঁজি হোক
আরে দেখি মারি ফেলেন নে দৌড়ি ফেলেন নে আলগা করে দেন নে দজ্জার তো মালয়েশিয়া কি ফসা দেন না দজ্জার ভিতরে মারি ফেলেন নি আমরা আর জানি না
আল্লাহ বাঁচালে বাঁচাইব মারি দিরি আরে রোগা মিলে দানা করে রোগা মিলে বাঁচালে মারি ফেলাব
These are the boats that we had to film secretly that are used for human trafficking and smuggling. The boats are not easy to identify as their names have been erased. A politically powerful and influential Bangladeshi runs the business from Bangladesh. At the other end, the business is controlled and managed by Thai smuggling and trafficking cartels. The sun sets on the river now and the night slowly follows. The darkness helps the Rohingyas to hide as they try to evade the coast guards. A tiny boat is seen carrying just a few. This is yet another boat carrying the desperate Rohingyas into Bangladesh. Maybe they will get caught. Maybe they will manage to get into Bangladesh. If they are caught, they will be pushed back. Then they will try to get in again the next night. This has been the story for decades. A community facing the worst kind of inhumanity. No place willing to take them in. The entire world watching and doing nothing. No one cares. Nobody really cares.